Hey saddle hunters, thanks for tuning in to watch another video here on the Saddle Hunting channel on YouTube. You know, if you've followed saddle hunting for long, you know that over the last 18 months, saddles have just been released left and right and all over the place. Hard to keep up with what's coming out sometimes, and a lot of them share a ton of similarities. Well, when I first saw this saddle that we're going to look at today, I kind of thought to myself, really, is somebody actually hunting from that? And then I started to dig into it a little bit more because I was kind of intrigued, and I thought, this might be a really good idea. So this saddle is exciting to me because it's totally unique. It's something that nobody has done at a commercial level in the saddle industry before. The saddle we're going to talk about today is the Dryad Drey. If you've heard about this, you'll know that it's essentially a hammock that has been built and constructed to be a hunting saddle. Not only that, this is the first completely modular system that we've ever seen in the saddle world. So every piece and component of this saddle is modular and removable, and you can add and take things off the belt as you please. So a ton of options with this saddle. It's super unique. One of the things that you'll notice right off the bat is that it is a super compact package. This comes in at 1 pound and 14 ounces, as you see it here. So over the course of this video, and I admit this is probably going to be a long video, but I'm going to break this down and show you guys the various components that make up the system as a whole. I'm going to show you how to attach it to an existing saddle that you might already have. Then I'm going to show you how to use it. We're going to take it to a tree, show you how to unpack it, how to use the lineman's belt, walk you through that whole process. I'm going to talk to you about some tips and tricks that I have found to use it most effectively. I'm going to give you some of my thoughts on the saddle, and then we're going to wrap up. So I'm extremely excited to show you guys this saddle, so stay tuned. A lot of information coming about the Dryad Drey. So I mentioned in the intro that the Drey is a completely modular saddle system. And one of the neat things about it is that you can attach the hammock portion of the setup to any existing saddle on the market that has molly loops on it. So maybe you've got a current saddle that you're just not quite pleased with the all-day comfort on it. You can buy this retrofit, which is composed of basically 3 straps with G-hooks on it, and you can attach it to your current saddle and get all-day comfort out of a saddle that you might start fidgeting around with after the 2 or 3 hour mark. Or maybe you're intrigued by this concept, but you're not quite sure you want to invest the money in the whole setup. You can just buy the hammock and not the belt, try it out with your current setup, and if you like it, then invest in the belt at a later time. So a really neat feature. In order to attach the Drey to your current saddle, you're going to lay it out and kind of plan out the attachment, so to speak. So flip the pouch around, and you can see there's 3 loops on the back of it. You're going to line those loops up with your existing molly loops. So in this case, I'm going to use this furthest most loop, this one here in the middle, and probably the second one in from the end on this side. You're going to attach your hooks. You're going to slide them in from the bottom, and you want to make sure that when you slide them up, they're facing toward the outsides, toward the lineman belt loops. The middle one can be oriented either way. So all you're going to do to attach this is pull it up through the bottom, slide that tag in under there, get it nice and flat, and you're going to come over the top of the molly through the outside slot in the buckle, pull it tight, and then you're going to come down the inside slot of the buckle. And you're just going to cinch that down. That's all there is to it. Let me do the next couple and I'll show you how to attach the pouch. Alright, so you can see I've got all 3 of my straps attached. They're lined up with the pouch. I'm just going to flip the pouch over and I'm going to loop it onto the G-hook. Just like that. Now on each side, I'm going to take this tag in for a little extra security, and I'm going to slide it in the opening. Just like that. And all that's going to do is give me a little helpful security to keep it from popping out of there. That's all there is to it. Now the Drey is attached to this saddle, and in my experience it holds on there really pretty good, and I haven't had it fall off yet. So that's how you can use the retrofit to attach the Drey to any current saddle on the market. Now let me continue and I'll show you the rest of the system. All right, as I mentioned, the Dryad Drey is a completely modular system. And so what I want to do is begin by showing you all the various parts and pieces that make up the system as a whole, and then I'll begin to walk you through how those pieces work together and show you how the Drey functions. So as you can see right now, you are looking at the pouch that contains the hammock. Let me just open this up. I'll show you what's inside. You have your leg straps inside of that pouch, as well as the hammock packs away in that pouch. This rope that you see here is the bridge for the hammock, and then also I have tucked in here the tag end of my Amsteel safety line. We'll show you where that attaches in a second. This pouch is very big, and the nice thing about this fabric is that it's super compact and flexible. So let me put the leg straps in there and show you there's plenty of room in this pouch to store other things as well. So here's an Oplux 8mm Lineman belt. We'll put that in there. I also have an 8mm Oplux tether with carabiner CT rolling lock. Put that on this side, and you will see that there is plenty of room for both of those ropes inside of this pouch. So for you guys that are curious about the space, plenty of room inside this pouch to carry all of your ropes and most everything that you would need. Let me flip it over now. We'll show you the rest of the system. So kind of the heart of the Dryad Drey system is this waist belt. This is a 2-inch belt that uses an Austria-Alpin Cobra buckle, super high quality ANSI rated buckle with a stainless steel D-ring. Attached to that is the other end of your safety line. So I can just pull that and it'll come right out of my pouch there. But this safety line attaches from your belt, and you'll attach it to your carabiner. It's just spliced there at the end, and it has an adjustable prusik on it that you can adjust the length. We'll show you how that functions more in the tree, but works really well. On the belt itself, everything is modular except for the side of MOLLE. So you have a good stretch of MOLLE webbing sewn onto the belt itself. Everything else is modular. This first loop that's sewn on here is a belay loop. Your leg straps will attach to that belay loop. We'll show you how that functions. This next loop, called the loop-to-loop. It's basically a modular loop that you can hang accessories from. So you can put a night eyes gear tie through here or a carabiner and use it to hang your sticks from. Coming around here, you'll see the pouch. Let me open up this buckle. You'll see this buckle is just super high quality, very affirmative click. You can also work it silently just by pushing in the tabs. But you can see then the pouch moves freely along the belt. It's attached essentially with 3 of those loop-to-loops. So you have attachment loops at 3 different points along the bottom of the pouch. So that's super nice. The last piece I want to show you guys on this saddle is what's called modular MOLLE. So you can see this piece is basically 2 loop-to-loops with a piece of fabric that has 3 MOLLE webbing sewn on the bottom. So if you want to run a pouch or hang sticks from this, a variety of different things, these just slide right onto the belt. And you can position it along the length of the belt however you want. So super nice feature. You can see here, I'll take this back off, but on the tag end of the belt, there's plenty of adjustment. I'm about a 33-inch waist, so a very large guy has plenty of room to run length out. There's a strap keeper, and it almost feels like a suede. It's got a good amount of stretch to it, but it does a great job in my experience of managing the tag end of the belt. So let me just show you this. Everything comes right off of this belt. And now I'm left with just my modular belt system. And everything just slides on there. Let me put this all back together and I'll show you how it functions as a system in the tree. Before I show you how to deploy the saddle and use it in this tree, I just wanted to show you kind of how this wears for the walk in and a little bit about the advantages of the modularity. So you can see I've got the saddle belt on here and it wears above my hips just like a normal belt. you can hardly even feel it. This saddle, because it just sits like a belt, wears better than any saddle that I have tried yet. This just, you put it on and you hardly even realize that you've got it attached. So that's super, super nice. You can see here that everything is built to slide and move around the belt. And maybe it's just due to my size. A bigger guy might have more issues, but I find that when I've got the loop-de-loop and the pouch and the MOLLE on here, that everything kind of butts up against one another and it doesn't like just freely slide and flop all over the place. Just for reference, I'm probably about a 33-inch waist. A bigger guy might have a little bit room for slide. Obviously I can't test that to know for sure, but you can see here the pouch, you can just take it. If you want to access it, move it around the front. That's a really nice feature. Zip it open, unpack your leg straps, your ropes, whatever you want out of it. Then you can just slide it back behind you again. So that's a super nice feature. I've got the rope tucked into the bag. That works really, really well. You can also take a little carabiner, clip it on there, and I found that you can just run it around and clip it onto the modular MOLLE. And that way you retain the ability to open the belt, or you can run it the other way after you've buckled into the saddle, clip it onto one of the existing MOLLE over here and manage it that way if you don't want to keep it in the bag. So a couple different options there. I want to show you how the kind of the belay loop and the leg strap setup work while I've got this right here in front of me. So I'm just going to zip open the bag, take out my leg straps. You can see the leg straps are basically identical on each side. They're symmetrical. The only difference is the orientation of the G-hooks. And you want the G-hooks oriented down, so it is side specific. What you're going to do though is just take this and thread it through the belay loop. The belay loop's very wide, nice and easy to thread through there. Run it to about the middle, and then you're going to take it, go around your leg, run it through the loop, and cinch it down tight. There's webbing keepers on the leg straps to handle the excess, so that's really nice. I'm going to come to the other side, do the same thing, wrap it around, hook it in, pull it tight, run my webbing keeper, and now my leg straps are completely hooked up. And that's something I'm going to do when I get to the base of the tree. I haven't found it very comfortable to walk in, and Dane didn't design the leg straps to be worn for the walk-in, so just keep them in your bag and then take them out when you're ready to hunt. I think that's all I wanted to show you as far as kind of the setup on the saddle goes and how it wears. So let's go to a tree now and I'll show you how to deploy the saddle and use it in a hunting fashion. All right, so now I kind of want to walk you through how to deploy the saddle when you're at hunting height and actually ready to use the thing in a hunting scenario. First thing you're going to do when you get to hunting height is you're going to grab this safety line, and if it's just tucked into your pouch, it'll pull right out, and you're going to clip it onto your tether. You're going to close that. Now, I have found that tether height with this saddle is a little bit different than a lot of other saddles that you're probably used to. I would typically run my tether height when I'm standing on my platform somewhere forehead level, right about where it is right now. With this saddle, I have found that the lower you go, the more comfortable it's going to be for both sitting and especially for leaning. So I like to run it about chin level. I've also gone all the way like as low as kind of down in here, your clavicle area. And I've talked to a couple other guys who've had really good success going that low as well. So that would be my suggestion. Kind of try to get that V of your tether somewhere, you know, maybe in your neck area. Now, I'm going to pull that up a little bit. Now I'm going to deploy the saddle. I'm going to spin around so that you can see this. Now, if you're not using a pouch or anything on this MOLLE right here, you can just grab this pouch and move it all the way around, which is super nice. You open your pouch all the way, then you're going to pull your hammock out. I like to always tuck the right side of the hammock into this front corner of the pouch and the left side of the hammock into this back corner of the pouch. That way when I pull it out, I know how it needs to be oriented. So I'm going to pull it out and I'm just going to go over my shoulder, keeping that corner that came out of the front of the pouch on my right side. Slide it back behind me. The hammock is sewed into the pouch, so you can't drop it or anything. And then I'm just going to clip in. So there's your bridge of your hammock. You've got your adjusters. So this is the top, and then obviously the bottom's below you. And it's just gonna kind of naturally hang down, and you can sit back into it. So now I've got the saddle out, it's totally deployed. There's a lot of different ways that you can set up this saddle and configure it for your hunting style. So I want to take the next couple minutes and just kind of walk you through some of the things that I have found to create the most comfortable hunt for me. So let's talk about sitting first. This saddle shines for guys that want to sit. Let me just start off by saying that this saddle is extremely comfortable in my experience. You've got to play with some things a little bit, but it's super comfortable, and I would say that it distributes pressure more evenly than any other saddle I've sat in. You don't get any real hot spots or real defined pressure points at all with this saddle. And I know at least 3 other guys who have spent extensive time in this saddle, and in talking to them, their experience has been the same. So let me talk about how I would sit in this. Right now, I've got the bridge adjusted all the way out. There's prussics on each side, so you could adjust this shorter if you needed a little bit more length. You can see my CT rolling lock is almost right up at the tether, so I don't have a ton of adjustment to go that way. If I wanted to go that way, I would just have to move these prussics up. But for me, this works. I've got about I don't know, 2 inches of tag end on each side. So to sit, I'm just gonna lean into the tree. I've got my knees a little bit more than 90 degrees, which is what I like. Now I'm going to take the fabric, and you can just pull it all the way out. One of the things I've noticed when sitting, but especially when leaning, is that you'll get a little bit of, I mean, not pressure so much, but you can feel this seam and this edge on the bottom of your legs. So what I like to do is just reach down and grab it and roll it over maybe 2-3 inches. And that distributes the pressure so much more evenly, and allows me to feel like my legs aren't so pulled together. One of the things I noticed when running a high tether height, like let's say I had my tether, you know, forehead, typical, maybe even higher than that. If you go that high, the saddle wants to just pull your knees super close together. Now, there may be some guys with hip issues or something who struggle to keep their knees on the tree. If that's you, that might be super nice. Maybe you run it a little higher because it's just going to naturally pull your knees together. But to avoid that, you want to run the lower tether height and roll back the edge of the fabric a little bit. So you can see I've got super good support through my lower body, and now the upper half, there's a lot you can do with. You've got these adjusters up here, and I can run it down low just like a typical saddle and sit in it. So a lot of guys are curious. They're seeing pictures of people, you know, laying back in this hammock and going, who's gonna hunt out of that? It looks like you're sleeping. You don't have to run it that way. You can drop this down and it hangs really low. I hunt with a 62-inch Black Widow recurve sometimes, and I grabbed it the other day and took tons of shots in it, and there's clearance for that bow in this saddle set up in this configuration. So I've seen some concerns about how much material it's got, and is it going to be in the way, and is it constrictive? And my answer to that is no. You can just drop it down and wear it pretty much just on your lower half with a lot of movement up top like a traditional saddle. So keep that in mind. Now, that being said, the nice thing about this is that there is a lot of material. And if I want some additional support, I can just move these adjusters up and bring the support onto my lower back. And you can see my whole lower back is supported. I know the owner has told me that a lot of guys with back problems have reached out to him to try this saddle because you get a lot of consistent support with the hammock material. So really comfortable back support. You know, you're sitting a little bit further back than you might be in other saddles, but I've found it to be very comfortable. And then if you're ready to hunt, a deer's coming in, you just reach up and it just drops out of the way, okay? So really very easy to make adjustments. Now, that being said, you can kind of move it up and do the the cocoon mode that I know a lot of guys are interested in. You can tuck your shoulders inside of the saddle and really, you know, tuck down in here like this. Very, very comfortable. Obviously, it's a little bit more restrictive on your upper body, but you know, you could sit here and read a book on your phone. You know, a lot of guys are going, "Oh, I don't want to put my arms inside of it because I don't want to get caught off guard by a deer." And I totally get that. There are a lot of scenarios where you're going to get caught off guard by a deer. But there's also a lot of guys out there who are hunting over open fields and such. If you're sitting on the edge of an open field, most of the time you've got time to make a shot. So you could just sit there and tuck in here and do a little reading or whatever you want to do. And then when you see a deer, you just reach up, pull your elbows out, and you're ready to go. So not that big a deal. One of the benefits, I think, is, you know, if you're kind of taking after the John Eberhart school of deer hunting and getting into the woods really early, an hour or 2 hours before daylight, you can pull the thing up and really, you know, lean back into it and take a nap. Now, for you guys that are taller, you might not have enough material to go up over your head all the way. I'm 6 foot tall, and for me, shoulders is about as high as I like it. Now, if I really wanted it above my head, which I don't see myself practically ever doing, I just move the belt up a little bit higher on my back, and now I've got the material up behind my head with support. So a lot of options, but like I said, they're just that. They're options. You don't have to go the total cocoon mode and wear it high up on your body if you don't want. One of the things that I found is that you can make a lot of adjustments comfort-wise just by manipulating the ends of the fabric. So don't be afraid to fold it over, to pull it up like that, push it down. If it's, you know, if you've got it up like this, you can fold the top over. You can pull it up and have the slack at the top. You can pull it down and have kind of the loose slack at the bottom. And I've found you can make some comfort differences by making those adjustments. So just keep that in mind. Now, when it comes to leaning, you'll notice if I just go straight from the leaning position where I've got it folded over about 2-3 inches and I stand up, it wants to pull my legs together. You can kind of see that, rotate them in, and it's just kind of tight on the legs. So one of the ways I've found to alleviate that if you're a leaner is to take the bottom and to pull it up even higher than the 2 or 3 inches. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of folding it up so that the top, that seam, just basically comes up over the top of my butt. Run that low tether height. You can adjust these for good back support. And I have found this to be very comfortable for leaning. Now, I don't do a whole lot of leaning, but I talked to some other guys who have this saddle. They're running it in a similar configuration to this and getting really good support and a lot of comfort while they're leaning. Now, some of the guys have mentioned that they're not folding it up as high as I do. They're folding it up a little bit lower. So there are a lot of different options. And don't be afraid to manipulate that fabric to find what position might work best for you. For me, I like it folded up over my butt. The angle of the tether is pretty low. I don't feel like I'm gonna, you know, like it's gonna slip out from under me. I can move and maneuver around the tree very easily, and it just feels very comfortable, very safe, very secure. So don't be afraid to play with that. Now, that being said, let me show you this. If you like a lot of support for leaning for weird positions to take shots, you can tighten those up and spin around, and now my whole chest has support, and I can lean down and take really deep angled shots. And I've never felt this kind of support in any other saddle. I can lean over and I could shoot straight down very comfortably. I feel supported. I don't have, you know, feel like I'm tipping at the waist or anything like that. Of course, I can drop that down and bend at the waist and go lower. So there's just a ton of options. But what I'm trying to say is that you can use this fabric to support you while you're taking shots if you want, or if you want more maneuverability at your waist, you can ditch it and and spin. So I hope that some of those tips are helpful for you. You can see here on the saddle, there are 4 little clips. This saddle is modular, and so you can buy kind of an under quilt. Dane's gonna have these available on the website soon, but an under quilt to go underneath the saddle and provide a layer of trapped air of insulation, essentially. So that's gonna be a really neat feature. And while we're talking about the material as itself, I've heard a lot of questions about, is it noisy? Is it gonna block the wind? Things like that. Well, if you look at it, I don't think it's noisy. I mean, nothing that is going to scare away deer. It doesn't crinkle or anything like that. Very quiet. I haven't even thought twice about the noise factor of this saddle. Now, the other question is, does it stop the wind? I have noticed that when I get inside of it, like this, I do notice the wind a little bit less. Now, I don't know that it's completely windproof fabric, but it seems to cut down on the chill. So take that for what it's worth. So now that I've showed you a little bit about how the saddle deploys and how to use it in the tree, I kind of want to walk you through how to climb with it, how to hang sticks, how to use the lineman belt, stuff like that. Before I show you how to do the lineman's belt and climb with it and all that, let me show you how to pack it up after you're done hunting. So you can see I've got it unhooked from my tether now. I'm basically just gonna grab the left side and bring it over my shoulder. All right, keeping track of which end's which. I'm gonna spin my belt around here, and I'm gonna grab that side that was on my left side, and I'm gonna tuck it into the back corner of the pouch here. I'm gonna come around, I'm gonna grab the other side, I'm gonna tuck it into the front corner of the pouch, and then you can just grab the material and fold it in there basically however you want. I haven't found it to make any kind of difference at all. When you close it, grab the zipper, put one of your fingers underneath it to just kind of push the fabric out of the way, close it most of the way, then grab your safety connection, tuck it in there. I over tuck it because it'll kind of just naturally pull itself out to the right position. Spin your belt back around, ready to go. You can take your leg straps off now. And I just kind of fold those up and put them in the pouch. And like I showed you in the earlier video, there's enough room in here to carry both your ropes. So really good storage with that pouch. All right, well now let me show you how you can climb and use the lineman's belt and hang sticks and such from this saddle. All right, I want to take the next couple minutes and kind of talk about the functionality of the saddle and the belt in particular. I've seen a lot of questions online about, can you really use it to carry sticks? Can you one stick with it? How does it do with pouches? What's the lineman belt setup all about? Those types of things. We're going to answer all those questions over the next couple minutes. I want to start off by talking about the lineman's belt configuration. This saddle doesn't have a typical lineman's loop setup on it. The recommended way to use a lineman belt on this is to thread your lineman belt through this steel D-ring on the front. So let me show you how this works. I have found, let's say I'm right-handed and I want to tend my lineman's belt with my right side. I want to run the loop portion of the lineman belt into that ring from the opposite side. So if I'm right-handed, I'm going to run it in from the left. So I'm going to run this around the tree. Just take it, pass it through that steel D-ring, clip on to the other side. That's how Dryad suggests using the lineman belt setup. One thing I've noticed, and I'll show you another video clip of this, is that if your lineman belt does not have a knot on it like this, it's very easy to just kind of pull it all the way through. If you have a knot, it's kind of a stopper when you go to pull on the end and tighten it down. So that's just something to keep in mind, that if you've got a sewn eye or a spliced eye on your lineman belt, you're going to have to grab one side with your hand and then adjust with the other side, otherwise it's just going to pull straight through that loop. So let me show you this. I put a stick on the tree just so you can get an idea of how this works. Obviously it's much tighter because there's just one attachment point as opposed to 2 attachment points on your hip, and I've found that, you know, it works just fine. I can toss it up with my hands and operate it with two hands, but I've found that I've got to give it a little bit more slack than I might a typical lineman belt. So I've been throwing it up and then just holding onto it with my hands and moving it up the tree as I go. So that's just an idea of how that works. It works. It's completely functional. It's obviously not as smooth as a typical lineman belt setup. So I've been playing around with it, and I've kind of come up with an alternative method to use it more like a traditional lineman's belt. Now, this probably isn't approved, so do this at your own risk. I'm completely comfortable with it, but your mileage may vary, and I'm not saying that it's safe. I'm just saying this is how I'm going to do it. So let me show you that now. So here's my lineman belt. It's 8mm Oplex. What I'm going to do to use this more like a traditional lineman belt setup is spin this belt sideways, and I'm going to find that last section of molly. And all I'm going to do is take my eye of my lineman's belt, run it around the body of the belt. And that's why I'm comfortable doing this, because the body of the belt is what's rated for thousands and thousands of pounds. And by essentially girth hitching it, I know it's not going to, you know, tear off of there. So I'm going to run it through that molly, just basically to keep it in place and to keep it from sliding around. And then I'm going to feed all my tag end through there to essentially girth hitch the main body of the belt. Like I said, it's going to get its strength from the main part of the belt, and that molly is just going to keep it in place. In the event of a fall, I imagine that it's just going to act like one of those suspension systems where it's just going to rip this set of stitching out, maybe this one, and keep moving this way until it stops. Obviously I haven't tried that, so I don't know for sure, but that's just my guess. So girth hitching it on that side, and then I'm just going to run it around the tree. And the other side, I am going to connect to the steel loop. Now the nice thing about this system is that because everything's completely modular on this belt, including the leg straps that would normally be attached to this belay loop, I can just slide the belt around, and it's not that big a deal. So now it's coming essentially off of the point of both of my hips, much like a traditional lineman belt setup. I can pull myself in, climb up, adjust it, and it's going to function a lot like a traditional lineman belt setup. So that's how I'm going to rig my lineman belt on this. I feel very comfortable doing it, but like I said, use that at your own risk. All right, while we're on the subject of lineman belts, let's talk about whether you can use traditional pouches and dump bags with this saddle. You can, it's just going to be a little bit different than you might be used to with a typical saddle. So when you sit in that hammock, it's going to wrap and kind of encapsulate your whole body pretty much, and come right up here on the side. So you can't really place a dump pouch very far back, because what's going to happen is the material on the hammock is going to compress it, and you're going to be able to feel it being compressed against your side. And if you've got your lineman belt in there, that's just not very comfortable. What I found is you can use a dump pouch if you put it in front of your body essentially. So I like the modular molly because I can, let's say I've got my dump bag on here and I've got my lineman belt in it. For the walk in, I can slide it off to the side of my hip and put it more behind me so it's not, banging on the front of my leg as I walk. And then when I get into the tree and climb up, take my lineman belt off, I could just put it in that bag and slide it around the front so that it's in front of me while I'm sitting there and not being compressed with that material against my side. So that's one way of doing it. Another way to do it, and what I'm probably going to do, I showed you I've got my lineman belt girth hitched onto the main belt of the saddle here, and I've just got it stuffed in my bag. And like I showed you earlier, you can fit both a tether and a lineman belt in this hammock bag. So when it comes to hunt, I am probably just going to, after I've disconnected my lineman belt, I think I'm just going to daisy chain it. I'm just going to put it like that. I'm going to flip it around, attach it onto the front of the belt here somewhere into one of these molly, and then it's just going to hang down right in front of me, be out of the way, pretty compact. And then at the end of the hunt, when I'm ready to use it, all I got to do is unclip it, run it around the tree, and go down. So a lot of easy ways to manage the ropes in this saddle, though it is different than what you're probably traditionally used to. I haven't found it to be all that bothersome. And like I said, to me, it's not a, oh, I'm not going to use this saddle because I've got to manage the ropes differently. You just got to think about it a little bit. Now I want to show you how you can carry sticks with this saddle. Once again, that's going to be a little bit different than you're probably used to. All right, there's a lot of different ways that guys can attach sticks to their saddle for the climb up the tree. Various hangers. I've often used these Night Eyes gear ties, but typically what I've done is girth hitch this Night Eyes gear tie to my molly loops, and then I have climbed the tree with it. Now with this saddle, what I found is that if I leave anything attached to these molly loops that the hammock then encapsulates, I can get a little pressure point. So what I'm doing is girth hitching the Night Eyes around the stick and then looping it through the belt. That way, when I put it on the tree, nothing remains on my belt to be under the pressure of that hammock. So let me show you how I've been doing it. Like I said, I'm going to have this position more like this because I'm going to have my last kind of a loop with my Lineman belt in it. So on my right side, I'm using this loop-to-loop. And the loop-to-loop's pretty neat. It just slides along the belt to wherever you want it. I'm putting it behind the last section of molly there. And then I'm just twisting my Night Eyes gear tie through there. And my stick's gonna hang right there on my side. You could also use the loop-to-loop that's on the bag. So a lot of options, or you can use the traditional molly. Tons of ways to do it. On the other side here, I've got loop-to-loops on the modular molly, but I also have regular molly loops. So I'm just gonna put my Night Eyes through there, twist it, and I'm ready to go. And I found that they carry well. I don't notice a functional difference doing this between how I would wear it on a typical saddle setup. So at the end of the day, even if you wanted to put one right in the middle, if you've got your bag in the middle of your back, there's a loop-to-loop attachment right there. So you could hang one right in the middle if you're a 4-stick guy. So I think there's plenty of options of attachment points that you can use to get your sticks up the tree. So let's talk a little bit now about whether or not this is a suitable saddle for goofy climbing methods. One-stick climbing, two-tether climbing, SRT, all those kinds of things. I have tested the saddle with SRT and with one-stick climbing, and at first I tried both methods without deploying the hammock, and I think there's just way too much pressure on the belt and on the leg straps. For me, it was not comfortable at all to climb that way. But I'll show you a quick clip here. I found it totally perfect to climb one-stick method with the hammock deployed. I was very comfortable just sitting down into it. As a matter of fact, I felt like the extra material was really helpful. When I would go to lean down to grab my stick, I just felt very supported, and I didn't feel like there was any way I was gonna fall out of it. So I think it's a very suitable option for guys that one-stick climb or any other method. I think this saddle, while you may have to make some adjustments from a functional standpoint when it comes to carrying sticks or your Lineman belt or your climbing method, I think all of them can be overcome with a little creativity. And to me, the comfort that you get from this saddle is worth rethinking how you may have always done things. Well, that's the Dryad Drey. Let me just give you guys a few concluding thoughts about this saddle. Overall, I am very, very impressed with this saddle. Matter of fact, I love it. You know, it's not often that a product comes to the market that is extremely different and yet is extremely functional and extremely impressive, and the Dryad is both of those things. This saddle is super, super, super comfortable, at least for me. Comfort will vary from person to person, but when I sit down in this saddle, I sit there for 45 minutes, an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I don't feel like I have any even desire to readjust positions or move. Matter of fact, I went in my yard the other day and made phone calls for a couple hours and never even thought once about moving. It's just extremely comfortable once you figure out, you know, how do you like the fabric adjusted and your tether height and things like that, but that's typical to a lot of saddles. But very, very comfortable. But not only is it comfortable, it's lightweight and it wears and carries in better than any other saddle I've ever tried. So tons of advantages to this saddle. The modularity is another thing that I really love. If I were you guys, I would recommend buying the modular Molly. That's an add-on, but for me, I really like the functionality that gives me when it comes to carrying sticks and adding things onto the belt, stuff like that. It's just worth the money in my opinion. On top of that, guys, I tested this with a variety of climbing methods. I know a lot of people are curious about one stick climbing. I really liked it for one stick climbing. It has that short bridge that you can, make really short, so your Mad Rock's right in front of you if you like it that way. And what I really noticed about it was that when I would go to lean down to grab the stick, that because that fabric came so far up my side, I just had a tremendous amount of support, and I didn't feel like I was gonna tip out of my saddle when reaching down to get my stick. So I am very impressed with this saddle. If you guys are looking for something different, if you're looking for comfort, I recommend that you go out and try it. In my dealings with Dane, the owner of Dryad, he's just a super nice guy. I like him a lot. He seems to have fantastic customer service. I have no qualms about dealing with them. If you have a problem, I bet that he is going to make it right for you. So have confidence in that department. The quality of this product is excellent. I haven't noticed any flaws in mine whatsoever. No loose stitching, nothing out of the ordinary, just really robust, built well. I'm extremely impressed with this, guys. I recommend if you're kind of on the fence, you're not so sure about the modular system, just go ahead, pick up the Hammock and attach it to your current saddle and give it a try. You got nothing to lose, and I think it's an excellent product. So I heartily recommend it to you. Once again, thanks for watching. If you find these kind of videos helpful, I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe, and I hope you have a good summer.